Welcome to another episode of the Bandwagon Sports Podcast. The NBA season is in full effect, and joining me today is Sean John to talk about the NBA season thus far. Sean, I think this is your maiden voyage on the Bandwagon Sports Podcast. We are excited to have you on. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, Sean, you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Well, what am I gonna say? I've been a big Raptor fan for years, huge basketball fan. Played at the high school level and at the college level for about 2 years. Uh, so I've also coached for about 3 to 4 years. So I could probably bring some perspective in terms of how these guys run their sets.
Nice,
More,
nice.
yeah.
Looking forward to hearing your insights. So, we're about like 7, 8 games into the NBA season. Anything stuck out to you so far?
There's a lot. Seems like my favorite team, the Memphis Grizzlies, and that old '90s style basketball is officially dead. That's the biggest thing that stuck out so far.
You know, they're 3-5. They're averaging 90 points per game and giving up 101.
They're getting really exposed on that pick and roll at the 4 spot. And you can also see Marc Gasol is kind of laboring now in the sense he's dealing with that injury.
Which injury?
He's got a cervical and a lumbar injury going on. So his upper neck and his lower back has been legitimately hurt. So he's not the defensive anchor he was last year for these guys in terms of covering for the missed assignments on the wings. So it's been tough to watch them.
I see. Yeah. You think? I mean, this is what Dave Yeager's third, fourth season at the helm. You think he's on the hot seat?
He would have to be, right? Especially if they don't make the playoffs. I think they'll pull it off and get that lower seed. But I think the days where they're like actually contenders, that's over.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA has changed. You know, now like you said, they're a '90s style team, grind it out, play physical basketball, defend, rebound, score on the block with the Zebo and Gasol. But that brand of basketball is starting to become obsolete.
And they made that trade for Mario Chalmers for Bino Udrich.
Mm-hmm. How do you think what do you think that's gonna do for him?
I think they expect Mario Chalmers to hit a couple more threes, but I don't think he's consistent enough for that, right? What does he shoot, like 33, 34?
Yeah, I mean, he's a streaky shooter, and I think Dan Le Batard and the guys in Miami used to joke about this, that he's super confident, and Mario Chalmers is probably going to the Grizzlies, assuming, and will go under the impression that he's the best player on the team.
Oh no, come on. Mario Chalmers you can't think that. You're 29 years old.
When they were winning championships, when they would announce the finals MVP, Mario Chalmers was the only guy in the building that was like expecting. It's like, oh, I'm going to be the finals MVP, and the LeBron would get it. He'd be like, what? What happened? That's Mario Chalmers.
No.
That's Mario Chalmers, dude. Super confident. Thinks he should have the ball in his hands. But at the same time, he's a good defender. He's a savvy veteran. But my thing with the Grizzlies, they have I feel that they probably lead the league in terms of number of savvy veterans on their team. I mean, you got Tony Allen,
Zach,
you got
Tony,
Zebo,
Mark.
You got Matt Barnes.
Barnes.
Courtney Lee.
Yeah.
He's savvy. Courtney's been around.
Is he savvy?
He's savvy, very savvy. He's a smart player. Very smart player, good defender.
I'll give him smart. I don't know about savvy. Savvy, I'm saying like you can't really jump. You're using your pivot steps very well.
That's crafty.
Your pump fakes.
That's crafty.
Is that crafty? What's crafty? Savvy then?
Savvy's kind of like, like if someone's posting up on you and you like pull the chair out crafty. Underneath them. Okay. That's savvy, I think. Or like maybe like exaggerating a call, exaggerating the contact to draw a foul.
Yeah. So the king of that one would be Manu.
Yeah, I mean, he's made a career off of that. So
the other thing that's definitely the other thing that's stuck out besides the '90s death is the Golden State Warriors. Clearly, they're still in championship form, and thus far everyone was talking about Anthony Davis being the MVP, and he hasn't started off the season too strong. He'll
Hmm.
figure it out probably, but
Hmm.
Stephen Curry's like, I'm the MVP.
Yeah, I mean that's they're picking up right where they left off of last season. These are they call them the next level Warriors. I mean,
Yep.
how good are they? How good do you think they can be this year? They have a championship under their belt. Second year in
You
the system, continuity.
I don't know if it's because I always think in the older terms of basketball in terms of like defense, take good shots, take the two over the three. Like I'm very old school in that sense. So I have a lot of doubt for the Warriors, but I didn't think they could win a championship last year. They proved me wrong. I thought, they kind of benefited from certain matchups in the playoffs.
Hmm.
But like just watching them now, I'm like, they got that additional swagger.
Definitely, I agree. I mean, I think after winning a title last year, if when they go up against the Clippers, Spurs, it's like, hey, they have that confidence, they have that mental toughness and edge that, hey, we've done it before, and these guys
We're gonna
haven't.
do it again. Yeah.
We're gonna do it
Hey,
again.
that
Spurs have, but the Clippers haven't, for example.
they have that advantage over the Clippers. They have that advantage over Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Um, who else is a contender out west besides those four?
Rockets, my
The
Rockets.
Rockets. Again, they got the advantage over the Rockets
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
well in that terms.
Yeah,
So the only team they would really have to fear, and we still have to see how they put it together, is San Antonio.
yeah,
All
definitely.
right. Also, there is an outside shot for Houston in the sense that James Harden is kind of he's brought himself back to form a little bit over the last 3 or 4 games.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah, I mean, with the Rockets, look, I'm a Rockets fan. Sure, most of our audience knows that. I think in the first three games, he was giving Lawson some of the reins and kind of, sitting back and seeing what Lawson could do. But the thing is the plan this year was that he's going to play more off the ball, spot ups, catch the ball on the run, and I think he's still kind of figuring out how to do that. That he can't
yeah,
just like sit 3 feet behind the 3 point line and just watch Lawson go to work. And the last 4 games, they put the ball more in his hands, and he won NBA Player of the Week. He went 4-0. He averaged like 39
yeah,
points, but still,
yeah.
he's got to figure out how to work with Lawson because we're not going
Yep.
to beat the Warriors if it's the
No,
James Harden show and everyone watching him.
absolutely. Because like it's funny because like when he did give the reins over to Lawson, his numbers suffered heavily,
Hmm.
and
Big
then
time.
now that he's kind of taking the ball back, you see Lawson's numbers suffering.
Yeah.
So they got to figure out like how to share that ball. And
Hmm.
when you look at it on paper, it seems like such a good fit. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Lawson,
Yeah.
he's not like a I'm gonna shoot 25 shots type
Yeah.
point guard. He's a I can break down this defense and then set everybody else up,
Hmm.
score my 15 to 17 points, and get my 7 to 9 assists.
Yeah. And to kind of piggyback on that, like this is a James Harden approved transaction by the Rockets.
Yeah.
This is something James Harden asked for a second ball handler after last season. He's friends with Ty Lawson. He gave his
Mm-hmm.
blessing, and
Mm-hmm.
so he's got to make it work. And you're right. This is something that Lawson should be able to get into the teeth of a defense, draw them in, kick it out to Harden for a shot, or kick out to Harden to go against a defense that's
Not
backpedaling,
set. Yeah,
that's not
exactly.
set. Instead of
Exactly.
sizing up the defense and just driving in and absorbing contact. And
But that's what he likes to do. He likes to do that 2, 3 dribble move and then make his move, get
yeah,
fouled.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is like I was excited about this move because I felt, to some degree, it'll kind of preserve Harden a little bit more, be less contact. I mean, if he's going against a defense that's not set and maybe one or two guys versus like three or four, it's less contact. But
I
you know,
thought it's a little bit simpler than that actually, because like you're right about everything you said, but in
mhm,
addition to that, to be the creator on every single play,
yeah,
and you have to set up all of your teammates all of the time. Just not having to do that on every single play, I thought was like light years ahead for him.
yeah. Let's see. It's early in the season. I think we had a lot of injuries in the preseason, so I don't think really they maybe got the game reps in to
No,
get
not
some
at all.
chemistry. But
You we can't judge any of these teams
Yeah,
really based
but
on the first 15,
this,
20 games.
yeah, and, one last thing on the Rockets. To me, this is a big season for them in that, is Kevin McHale the guy for that can get us, from a coaching perspective, over the hump into the finals. Like, I feel that's like we've upgraded the roster gradually. We got Dwight Howard last year. We added some depth. This year
Yeah.
we're hoping we got the third star in Lawson. Now it's like
Yeah.
we have all the pieces, but is Kevin McHale the guy that can put it together?
But
And
can I ask you something? Like,
yeah,
if you just put up the rosters next to each other, of San Antonio, of Golden State, and of Houston,
yeah.
just on talent wise, I would still rank them third.
You think so? I mean, I feel compared to the Spurs, like I feel okay from star power perspective. I mean, we have Dwight Howard and James Harden, but I feel we have a lot more depth and athleticism. I mean, on the bench we have Trevor Ariza, Corey Brewer, Patrick
Brewer, yeah,
Beverly, Clint
yeah,
Capella. We have
yeah,
KJ McDaniels. He's a young, promising player. We drafted Sam Decker.
yeah.
Like
I like both of those guys too.
we have the depth. I mean, like to me, like you could
But like
argue that we have the best.
a
You
lot
could
of
go ahead.
a lot of the depth you guys have on the second unit is unproven depth. Other than maybe Patrick Beverly,
I'll give you that.
you know what I
I'll
mean?
give you that. Yeah, but
Brewer, I like him. I like his game too. So like he's a solid player. And again, you saw last year what he was able to do in that comeback against the Clippers.
hmm
And he provided that defensive spark, turn over the ball, get out on the break, exactly what Houston wants to do.
hmm Well, one
So
guy I'm
like
forgetting to mention is Marcus Thornton as well. I mean, I thought that was a big pickup. So,
that was huge, man. Because I thought he was dead. Like his career was dead,
oh
but
no,
he can
I,
still ball.
I knew he could still play. I mean, like he's torched
He
us
was
so many times. It's like
he was
I thought.
awful in Brooklyn though. He was awful in
I
Brooklyn.
mean, I think everyone was a little bad in Brooklyn.
They're still bad. I don't know if you've seen what Joe Johnson's doing in Brooklyn. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean,
keep getting them checks, as the great Jalen Rose usually says.
keep getting them checks, live the life. I mean, don't even get me started on the Nets. I'm a little partial because I live in Brooklyn, but
Yep.
definitely have to talk about them
Let's
on
actually
another
sorry.
podcast.
So
What?
okay, let me give you the San Antonio. Let's say about Houston and San Antonio equal. Then let's bring up the Golden State Warriors. Do you think talent for talent, Houston matches up with Golden State?
I mean, I don't think the gap is big enough. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe the Warriors are a little more talented, but I don't think it's like a big gap. It's like if the Warriors are like 100, we're like 85. 80. I mean, we're
I
like
feel that's a
85.
big gap. That's a big gap.
Okay, 90.
Okay, that's less of a
Right?
gap.
Like I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
We have a good point guard. We have a
Yes.
superstar guard. They have a superstar guard.
Yeah.
We have like I feel like we have enough depth to kind of even out things with Klay Thompson. We
Sure.
have talented forwards, and Jones, Montezumas, Harrell's look good, and
Can I,
Dwight when
can I
he's
ask you something really quickly?
who?
Can I ask you something really quickly?
Yeah.
So, you brought up Klay Thompson. Do you remember anything he did in the playoffs?
No,
Yeah.
I think he had a big game against the Cavs, I think, but
Did he? Which game? I don't remember.
I don't know. I mean, he had he had one of those games where like they got him going early. He'd score like 10, 15 points. I mean, but he didn't have like a signature game in the playoffs where you're like, oh man, like
This guy's good. This guy's great.
good. Yeah,
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I think he's a little overrated.
I'll give you that. Oh, definitely. He's a good scorer, and he's a solid defender. He tries. I don't think he's a great defender, but that he doesn't
I
do
agree
anything
with you
else.
there.
He doesn't
Yeah,
rebound.
exactly.
He's not like a assist guy.
Nope.
I mean,
You
he's
know,
a little
again,
overrated. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Because,
Yeah.
like, I was like, look, especially in that Cleveland series, who's guarding him?
Iman
Wasn't
Shumpert was
LeBron.
doing decent for a while, but
But I thought he spent more time on Steph.
yeah. But the thing in the Cavs series is like they were so worried about Steph Curry that I think like Thompson, I mean, they were so focused on Steph Curry. I think to some degree they forgot about Klay Thompson.
Yeah, because like I'm just looking up the last year's playoffs. He started off the first two games pretty well at 21 and 34, and then he dropped off to death at 14, 9, 12, and then 5 for the final.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if his contributions are.
Yeah.
It's always bonus
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
team, but I don't think they're
But
relevant.
yeah. But what I'm saying, like, kind of getting back to what you were saying, I don't think the talent gap between the Rockets and the Warriors is that significant. Like, if you look at
Is
the
this
Warriors and like Pelicans, that's a big gap. But
is the system gap big
that
for
there's a
you?
gap definitely. Like, I think the Warriors under Steve Kerr with their ball movement, your motion offense, the blend of the triangle and like this up tempo pick and roll game
Yep.
versus what the Rockets are, which is pick and roll, ISO ball. Yeah, there's a big
Shoot
gap there.
threes.
And
Yeah.
shoot threes. Like the conceptually, we're similar to the Warriors. Like we want to get out, run, shoot threes, but
You're
the
too ISO
Warriors,
heavy with
yeah, we're too
James
ISO
Harden.
heavy. Yeah, we don't pass the ball around enough, and we like the the level of shooting which the Warriors have. Like definitely, they're superior to us than that for sure.
Yeah, because that's really the one factor that separates them is that who can you really leave open
Yeah, I mean, especially especially when the Warriors go to their small lineup with Draymond,
as their
Iggy.
center?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Draymond is their center, which I don't understand why teams can't exploit that. You
It
know,
doesn't
Iguodala.
make any sense to me
Yeah.
at
So
all.
using your intimate knowledge of X's and O's, when the Warriors go small, like why is that lineup so successful?
It's it's successful for the simplest reason, right? So if you're talking strict basketball theory, this guy's what 6'7"?
Yeah.
Draymond Green.
If
He's
I
six
think
seven.
maybe 6'6".
Okay, 6'6". You got a 7-foot center. Mind you, that 7-foot center is nowhere near as talented as the centers of the 90s and early 2000s.
Agreed.
Okay, so you'd think that they just dump it into him, he'd get a quick 2 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that should be where they get their mismatch. What tends to happen is none of these big guys have an actual back to the basket game anymore. So they dump it into him. Draymond can keep position long enough to force this guy into an awkward left hand hook shot. Or what they try to do is quickly turn and face him up. But he's 6'7". You're not going to face him up and blow by him. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly.
there's no actual exploitation of the matchup. And on top of that, what happens on the other end? They start doing 1-3 pick and rolls, 1-4 pick and rolls, 1-5 pick and rolls. And then they end up giving up threes. And maybe if they're lucky, they get twos every other play. Meanwhile, Golden State runs back out, hits another three. So suddenly the lead grows by 6, 7, 8, 9 points. And then the coach is kind of forced to take the big out. Because if you remember those first couple of games against Cleveland, Timothy Mozgov was above 20 points and 10 rebounds in the first 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the tail end of the series, the like game, say 4, 5, and 6, they went super small with that Iguodala power forward lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally just kept exploiting him on that 1-5 pick and roll.
Yeah.
And then they just had to take him out because they just kept getting 3 after 3 after 3.
But it's weird in that series. I also felt that even when they went to that small lineup with Draymond at center, that Timothy, he was able to dominate the glass to some degree. He was getting, offensive rebounds because Draymond, he's like 7'1" or something.
Him and Tristan Thompson were doing a fantastic job of getting offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
That's why that series was even as close as it was.
Yeah.
And then LeBron's dominance was also part of that reason.
So
because if you look, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, well, kind of getting back to the small lineup. Like, what do you think teams should do? I mean, what can teams do? You think to combat it? I mean, do you stay big?
All of them have gone small now. The only team that didn't do it was Memphis, and they were. I thought they could have beat them last year, except for the 2 things that happened. Michael Conley broke his face, and then Tony Allen got injured for game 3 and 4.
True.
Right? Because if you notice, when Golden State went small against these guys, you have actually competent big men who know how to back down. Right. So they were exploiting them early on. But, however, once Tony Allen went down, once Mike Conley went down for that game, their perimeter defense was not as tight as they need it to be. And you need to have a great perimeter defense if you're going to beat this Golden State team.
Oh, definitely. What do you think about what about a team like the Spurs? With two skilled big men in Duncan and Aldridge. You think that could
Okay.
be the one thing that could bust this small lineup? By the way, I like the Warriors. I'm not like trying to for our listeners out there. I'm not trying to solve them, but just throwing some thoughts out there.
It's interesting that you say that, because here's the biggest problem with the Duncan LaMarcus Aldridge.
Mm-hmm.
LaMarcus Aldridge is a face-up shooter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when he posts and fades.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel, and I could be wrong about this, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch Spurs games.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't actually know how they're treating him, because he's not getting the same amount of shots he's getting in Portland. I know that much.
Yeah.
Right? When they go with Tim Duncan is enough of a force at the 5 where they can't keep Draymond Green at the 5 against Tim Duncan. Now, I don't know if you can have Tim Duncan and LaMarcus Aldridge out there together on the defensive side, because neither of those guys can guard anybody in the perimeter. So I don't think that could work, but they have the ability to slide Kawhi Leonard to the 4, Green to the 3, and then go Patty Mills and Tony Parker. Or they could even go Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, or Manu Ginobili and Patty Mills.
Yeah.
So they can really combat that line, and on top of that, they actually have a post presence who knows how to pass.
True.
And what they'll probably end up doing is switching Duncan for LaMarcus Aldridge and go 1 big 4 out.
Yeah. That's something
constantly throughout the whole game.
Yeah. I mean, I think the main thing is it's hard to play traditionally now with 2 bigs, because you don't have the spacing on offense, and then defensively you got to be able to guard the screen and roll. And if these bigger, slower big men, sometimes they struggle with that.
Let's give some credit to these guards, because their speed and their ability to shoot the ball now is just so out of this world.
I mean, that's the thing with Steph Curry. I mean, to me, his shot, he's the best shooter. In my opinion, he's the best shooter in NBA history. His handles are, ridiculous. Probably ridiculous. Top 3 in the NBA. And,
easily. It's top 2. It's between him 2. And
Kyrie.
And Kyrie. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
Chris Paul is 3rd, probably.
Yeah. One last thing on the Warriors, just kind of looking ahead. Harrison, would you max out Harrison Barnes?
No, I would not. How much would you pay him?
See, on that team,
he's asking for 15, 16, 17 million.
Yeah, I mean, I feel with this rising cap for the role he plays, that 15 million is kind of like the going rate. I mean, if you're paying Draymond 5 years, 85 million, I mean, if you're Harrison Barnes,
more valuable.
Yeah. No, my only thing,
valuable.
My thing is that, with the Andre Iguodala in place, I mean, I feel, do you really need both of those guys? I mean, could you save that money and for the future for somebody else?
You do.
I mean, Daryl Morey got Chandler Parsons in the second round is what I'm saying. A guy like Chandler Parsons in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If you can do something like that, I think you should do that.
Yeah. Someone's going to
pay
him.
Like you said.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe because I'm still in the old cap situation. Because you're going to have to pay Stephen Curry $40 million soon.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. He's making.
Yeah.
Is Clay the highest paid?
Clay, I don't know, either Clay or Draymond. Clay's getting like $18 million a year, I think, or
yeah, he's max.
He's somewhere around the 4-year max, and then Draymond's getting like 17.
Yeah,
Steph's getting like 10.
Stephen Kerr's like 12, 11, right?
Yeah, something like that. He signed a 4-year, $44 million contract so
about 11 million.
Yeah.
So his paycheck is going to go up by 29 million.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, he'll be maxed out.
He's going to be super max.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something if you're the Warriors, you got to think about that. Like, hey, you got to pay Steph Curry down the road, And
Yep. Because you're
you
not
know,
letting him go.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how the luxury tax is going to work with this new rising cap, but I think teams like you can't be too thrift. You can't be through too you know you
Penny
know
pinching.
not penny. What's the opposite of like being penny pinching?
The Brooklyn Nets.
You can't be the Brooklyn Nets and just like max out everybody and whatever just because you don't know you don't know what the new CBA, you don't know what what the new luxury tax line is going to be. You got to save
Yeah.
money to pay Steph and
Yep.
Harrison Barnes. While he plays a good role,
Yep.
definitely
He
you
can
could
be
replace
replaced.
him. He
Yeah,
can be
exactly.
replaced. Yeah,
Because especially if you're acting for 15 to 17
yeah.
million,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
you can't. He's not going to average more than 11 or 12 points just because he doesn't need to average more than 11 or
No,
12 points on
no.
that team.
And I mean some of his production is just a product of the system that they swing it to him on open shots. They find him in motion.
Yep.
Um, you could probably find another athletic wing and have him work on his jump shot, and you could
Yeah,
definitely replace him.
definitely.
So that'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see. I mean,
I would not pay them what he wants. It's just like how the Cavs paid
mhm.
Tristan Thompson that $80 million.
Yeah,
I would not have done that. I don't
yeah,
care. I know that he's hooked up with LeBron's own personal
yeah.
agency.
Yeah, but the thing is, free agent dealings with the Cavs, it's a little different with other NBA teams.
You can't pay a guy 88 or 84 or 81 or 82 million dollars who can only rebound and put the ball back in. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I
He's
think
playing 20 minutes a game for $80 million. That's ridiculous.
that's why LeBron's the most popular player in the NBA to play with because he takes care of his people. So
He takes care of his peoples if they're signed to his agency. Okay,
that's what I'm. Andrew
let's be
Wiggins
clear.
didn't sign with his agency. Got
Good
traded.
job. Good job, Andrew Wiggins. I
Yeah,
approve of your decision.
yeah. So going east, what do you think about the Pistons? Five
Detroit
Detroit Pistons.
basketball. Um,
Basketball.
does it remind you of the old Orlando Magic team at all?
I think a little bit. I think Reggie Jackson's kind of that Jameer Nelson penetrator.
Yep.
Drummond's playing the Dwight Howard gobble up all the rebounds.
Yep.
Who else they got?
They don't have a Turkoglu or
No, that's
Rashard
the
Lewis,
missing.
but they have a bunch of competent shooters and slashers.
Yeah, I mean Turkoglu's out there if they need him. He's out there.
Yeah. What's he? Is he at a nightclub again while he's injured or
Sure, he's at a nightclub and smoking a cigarette.
Turkoglu?
Yeah, Turkoglu. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
they have Marcus Morris, who's kind of maybe a poor man's version of Ryan Anderson. But
Yeah, I could see that. But no,
yeah, what do you think of
they've
the
done a good
Pistons?
job where they've surrounded Andre Drummond with about 4 shooters.
Yeah,
And honestly, he's actually playing at a level right currently, like the first 2-3 weeks of the season, that was better than anything I've seen Dwight Howard do.
like this
Because the
season.
rebound total this season, the rebound totals this kid is getting
Hmm.
is mind-boggling. Like that's some Dennis Rodman stuff. And unlike Dennis Rodman, he doesn't have an aversion to actually putting the ball back in. Because Dennis is always weird in that sense that he got the rebound, could make a layup, but he'd rather pass it out and get another rebound.
Got to pad the stats. Yeah. I mean, what do you think the ceiling is of this team? You think they can be like a version of this year of the Hawks, where they're
I
they
think
win?
they're gonna be 45 to 50 wins.
Hmm.
I actually think this team is actually set up really nice the way Stan Van Gundy has done this.
Hmm.
As long as Drummond can stay at a relatively high production, he doesn't have to go 20 and 20, but even if he
Hmm.
can go 17 and 14, that's a good production level. And as long as those shooters can continue hitting shots, they should make the playoffs. They're not going to be dangerous in the playoffs this year, but maybe in like a year or two, we're talking about that Orlando contender type team again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again,
Um.
it's still the first. We're not even past the first 10 games, so it's like really hard to read a lot of these teams because the scouting report is not out on the NBA yet. You don't know what these guys struggle with. You don't know what their strengths are, and like these teams haven't game plan enough to take away the strengths and focus on their weaknesses. So that's why I always feel like maybe 15, 20 games, and we start to see how everybody adjusts.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Some teams, with young players, coming out, you haven't seen them, so you just sort of,
Their
let it
rookie as
ride.
well, Stanley
Yeah.
Johnson,
Hmm.
he's a stud. That guy's going to be a player. Because I don't know if you've seen him. He has the ability to create off the bounce. He has the ability to hit threes. He has a nice
Hmm.
mid-range game.
Hmm.
If he develops his playmaking, then you starting to look at your Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis type player develop.
Yeah. That was a good pick by them.
Great
That was
pick.
definitely a good pick by them. Good job by Stan, head coach, executive.
Executive. Well done, Stan Van Gundy.
Yeah. And
I
Stan
just
man.
wonder. I wonder if you'll end up in that situation with Dwight Howard, where he insults Dwight Howard, and Dwight Howard comes to say there's no beef, and you have to stand there looking awkward.
Oh man, I mean,
Do you remember that though?
I remember that, and props to Stan for standing up for himself. But I mean, it'll be interesting.
Did he stand up for himself? Because I remember him saying, "Yeah, he doesn't like me," and then Dwight Howard's like, "What are these guys talking about? We love each other."
Well, you said it right in the
Literally,
practice with Dwight there, but I mean,
but Dwight
I
Howard didn't hear it, and then Dwight Howard
yeah.
comes over to the press conference trying to
I
buddy
mean,
up to Stan.
if you're Stan Van Gundy and you're like 6 feet tall and 6'11", 280-pound Dwight Howard's coming over just to see what you said, I might, I might, kind of cover myself a little bit too, but
I just remember him trying to leave and trying to joke with Dwight Howard
yeah.
at the same time as leaving. And I was like, wow, this is
Yeah,
super awkward.
damage control, damage
Oh
control.
man.
Uh,
I wanted to ask you about the Thunder and what do you think of Billy Donovan thus far?
uh, so far, I mean, I watched it a little bit. I watched the first opening night against the Spurs, and
That was a great win for them as
it
well.
was a great big win for them. They kind of look like the same a little bit, and
Don't they?
they're not as good defensively, which I
Yep.
thought. I think a lot of us were expecting, Billy Donovan to come in and tighten the screws and the screws and bolts a little bit. I guess straighten the books out a little bit. But from kind of the loose, the loose and kind of loose, not loose ship, but the freestyle offense of Scott Brooks. But it looks a little bit more of the same.
It looks exactly the same to me. I don't see any difference. It's like here's KD, KD does his thing. Here's Russell Westbrook does his thing. Let's throw in Cantor for a couple of possessions, and that's a wrap. What else do they do really? I don't even see Serge Ibaka as involved as he used to be.
No, I mean, Serge was at one point was kind of getting that 3-point game going, but I don't know how, I haven't seen enough to see how much they're using him in that role.
They're going through Cantor more than they're going through Ibaka.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if. Do you think they need to be separated, Russell and Kevin?
No. When you have two alpha dogs, two, top flight players like that, you got to find a way to make it work.
Honestly,
I wouldn't.
They need a better coach. No offense to Billy Donovan.
Look, they're LeBron and D Wade in the West, essentially.
But Dwayne Wade was more willing to give up his role. Chris Bosh was more willing to give up his role.
But I
alpha
think
dog.
Westbrook
remember?
yeah.
Do you remember the conversation Dwayne Wade had with LeBron James after they lost to Dallas, where he's like, "Yo, if we're gonna do this, you're gonna have to take us there.
But
I'm gonna take the step back."
It's not like either of them have taken it's not like either of them game have suffered. I mean, there have been games where they've both scored 40. I mean,
That's not the issue though, right? It's not that they can't get their numbers. The issue more is there's no flow created towards the end of the game because all that ends up happening is let's isolate Russell, let's isolate Kevin, but there's no actual synergy between them.
But do you think maybe that they need to move Russell off the ball? Can you get a point guard in there?
I
know they drafted one, but Do you think that maybe they might be better served with someone setting them up? Kind of like
I
back in the
think,
day with Harden, when he would come in and run the offense, and
but even then, they still had similar problems to what they
yeah.
have now. What
Except then
I
they have,
feel they needed something like, you know, when the ball is in constant motion, like how the
yeah,
triangle works?
yeah,
Because essentially they remind me of Scottie Pippen and Michael, not in actual abilities or anything like that, but in
hmm
terms of what they're able to do off the bounce.
hmm
They just need like a system to show where each of them should get their spots,
yeah,
right? Where Pippen will get his shots from, where Jordan will get his shots from.
yeah.
So I feel like role definition is actually the bigger problem with Oklahoma City.
But like but it's just it's hard because Westbrook is such a talented scorer that
Both of them, yeah.
you don't want to take that away. I mean, I guess maybe with Russell,
I hear
you got to figure out that maybe like you got to get guys going early on and get your
you know
stuff in the
who's
yeah.
you know who
What?
says it the best, man? Charles Barkley. I know people think he's an idiot, but he's right. He's like, yo, just because you can get into the lane and get a shot off anytime you want doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's a level that you wish Russell Westbrook mentally could understand, not even get to, because he can definitely get to it.
hmm
It's just like almost like a sixth sense that Russell Westbrook needs to develop in
hmm
terms of understanding, like, okay, I know I could beat this guy off the dribble. However, doing so will not actually help us win the game.
yeah.
If he ever gets that understanding, they can do it.
hmm
Um, I would say if Kevin Durant could do it, they would be all right, but I
hmm
don't think it would work.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still in a playoff series against any team in the West. I mean, with that star
They
power,
they
it's
can win a series. They can beat the Golden State Warriors in a series. They can beat the San Antonio Spurs in a series.
mhm.
What I don't think they can do is beat the San Antonio Spurs and then beat the Golden State Warriors.
I mean, could they beat the Los Angeles Clippers and then beat the Warriors? Could they beat? I mean, can they beat two? I mean, to win the West, you gotta. I mean, with the exception
You
of
got to
last
win
year,
two great series.
you got to win
Yeah,
two great series.
yeah, and I don't think they can win two great series. They can definitely beat the
But why do you
champions. They
why do
can,
you why do you say that though? I mean, they've done it before.
but then they flamed out against another great team in the Miami Heat.
Yeah, but I mean,
Right? They could not stay hot enough. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook got their numbers in that Miami series. It just didn't matter. It was like, I think Kevin Durant had a great actual series statistically, but they were some of the quietest 30-point games I've ever witnessed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because it wasn't important to the actual outcome of the game.
Mhm.
The
I don't know.
Raptors were able to stop
Yeah,
this team.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? They showed a really good blueprint of how to stop them. And that's essentially just load up on the screen, the dribble penetrator on the screen and roll.
hmm
That's all they kept doing
But
to them.
you know, one thing is, do you think Billy Donovan has enough credibility
No,
to maybe go to these guys and say, we're going to run a system, and you guys got to you have to get with the program, otherwise, I
I think
mean,
there's only a few
like Pat
coaches
Riley
who can,
was
yeah,
able to go to LeBron and be like, we're going to post you up, we're going to run this type of offense,
and you're gonna do it.
you're going to do it. Phil
Yeah,
Jackson was able to do it to that's the only
Kobe and
thing.
Shaq.
Yeah.
Billy Donovan, you're right. He does not have the clout to do it. I think there's only maybe 3 coaches in the NBA
hmm
who has the clout to say that to Russell Westbrook, where Russell Westbrook might say, maybe I should listen to this dude.
hmm
And that's like you got to get a Greg Popovich.
hmm
Um,
Steve Kerr, I think,
honest,
could do
I
it
don't know.
now.
Does Steve Kerr can you really put
I mean,
Steve Kerr in that
you
category?
got a ring.
He did get a
Yes,
ring, but like,
6
you
rings.
think Russell Westbrook would listen to Spo? Right?
I don't know. I mean,
That's what I'm trying to.
If it's a Pat Riley whispering
Definitely, he would
behind
listen to Pat Riley.
the
He would listen to
Godfather,
Pat
then
Riley,
yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, Pop,
and
whether
maybe
Pop,
Phil Jackson's the only other guy I think he could listen to.
Yeah.
Nobody else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And two of those guys are not coaching.
Yeah.
Like even like I would want to say someone like Rick Carlisle,
Hmm.
but even then I don't know if he has the ability to navigate that personality.
Maybe Rick Carlisle could come up with a system that would make it work.
He definitely could. He would probably put Durant in the post more.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I don't know why they don't put him on the block more. He's 6'10", and he can definitely
I mean,
has moves
yeah.
down there.
Probably resistance from KD. Maybe he doesn't want to go down there, take the
Yeah.
pounding. You know. But
Honestly, it probably would do a number on his back, and he's injured again.
yeah, he strained his hamstring.
And you know that seems like an injury that was brought on by the foot issue from before.
Yeah. I mean, you're the
You,
sports medicine guy, so
you know when you're overcompensating,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think this is on the opposite leg, the hamstring,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
and like, have you felt Kate like Katie's played pretty good, but
Mhm.
have you felt like he's MVP KD yet?
I mean, it's no. I haven't seen that signature performance. I mean, he's getting his numbers:
He's
28,
getting it. Yeah.
50%, 28 points per game on
Yeah.
50% shooting. But
It's just that he's that talented.
yeah,
Like that's literally nothing to him.
but I thought at least for the first 30, 40 games, he'd take kind of a back seat to Russell and let him drive the car for a little bit while he gets his legs back. But especially after the season he had last year,
Yeah,
with
definitely. Because
scoring
like
title,
very
triple
injured.
doubles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He got his first triple double yesterday.
yeah, yeah,
You know, when KD went out with 14 minutes
yeah.
and 14 points, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Man, let me ask something. You think he'll go to like he'll stay in Oklahoma City?
You know, I think I think he I think he will, just because he's gonna get the most money in Oklahoma City,
Yeah.
even if he signs a
Yeah.
2-year contract. B, I mean, it's gonna be hard for him to find a running mate
As good as Russell.
as good as Russell Westbrook. He can go to the
But
Rockets and play with James Harden, who's also his good buddy.
yeah.
But then you're still in the West. I mean, it's more of a lateral move, and I'd love to
But
see
let me ask you something. If he goes to a city like Washington,
like
where you got
yeah. Go ahead.
with Bradley Beal and
Mhm.
John Wall,
Mhm.
you know, is Russell Westbrook is the better player, both compared to both of them. But you got two of them now.
Yeah. But plus, I feel Wall's game would complement Durant's a little bit better because Wall's more of a
Much better. Yeah.
more pass-oriented point guard. Plus Durant, I mean, that going to the Wizards makes the most sense. Look, you're going to be in the East. You only have to compete against one team. You're playing with a pass-first point guard. You have another good
shooter.
another shooter.
Yeah.
You have a big in what's his name?
Gortat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like Wall is great, but I feel Westbrook.
He's not Russell.
He's not Russell
absolutely.
Westbrook. And
He's not.
If I'm KD, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, KD knows his body better. Who knows if KD is starting to break down, or maybe he's not.
You know what might be an
wow.
interesting thing? Yeah. Place for Kevin Durant to go.
Where?
I like Houston would be a really good actual option, because that could be a championship team.
Yeah.
If I was him, I'd look hard at Houston. I would look hard at Washington.
To me, Houston makes a lot of sense because look,
it does.
You're going from Westbrook to Harden. It's like maybe this is blasphemy to other people, but it's like it's one great player to another great player who you're also buddies with. Yeah. The Rockets are a smart organization. We have all the pieces in place.
That's more the reason why I would go, is the surrounding pieces gets completed by Kevin Durant's arrival. Yeah. Everything else would kind of fall into place. If they want to go small ball, they could put Ariza at the 4 and go small.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's a really good option. Like, now that I'm actually sitting here and thinking about it, if he wants to go east, besides Washington, another good team would be surprisingly the Toronto Raptors, because again, you get solid young big.
Yeah,
put Damari Carroll at the 4.
But then but then I just feel in Toronto, I don't think he doesn't have that transcendent player to play with. I think
the difference between him and Toronto and Washington, every credit would go to him.
Every what?
All the credit would go to Kevin Durant.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess, but
it's not it's not as transcendent as say the Washington Wizards would be with John
Mhm.
Wall because
Mhm.
John Wall is young.
Yeah.
However, the complementing pieces towards Kevin Durant's game, Kyle Lowry's a 40% 3-point shooter.
Hmm.
DeMar Carroll's a 40% 3-point shooter, plus a defensive stopper.
Hmm.
You do have a post presence. The only outlying piece is really DeMar DeRozan,
Yeah. Do you
right?
think do you think Toronto gets a meeting with Durant?
They'll get a meeting. I don't think it goes anywhere.
Yeah.
They'll get a meeting
I love
because
Toronto. It's my favorite city, but I just don't think it's an option for him. I hope they get it. I hope Toronto gets a meeting because I think getting these meetings helps in free agency. Gives your organization
yeah.
some credibility. And but
If I am looking in terms of like actual fit, I think
mhm,
his first option is probably going to be OKC.
yeah,
If he's smart, he would take a good long look at Houston. If he's smart, and then take a good long look at Washington.
yeah. I mean, I think
The
outside
only
Oklahoma,
problem with
yeah,
Washington is
yeah.
depth.
Is what is
Depth.
depth?
Washington doesn't really have any depth.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they have Otto Porter, I guess, who'd be still on his rookie contract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's not going to come in and
But you
score
know what?
20 points.
You once you have the foundational pieces, though, if you have a smart GM, you can always add pieces
Who's,
at the
who's the
deadline.
GM for the Wizards?
I think it's Ernie Grunfeld.
Yeah, Grunfeld. I
I mean,
don't know
he's
if he's
decent.
transcendent.
He's decent. He's not a Daryl Morey. He's not like a Sam Presti type, but
No, he's
he's
not.
he's decent.
He's decent. He's not. What's it called?
Yeah,
Pat's Riley. He.
yeah.
You know what? I know a lot of people were hating on Phil Jackson
Hmm.
with the moves he made, but I'm like, he's not setting up the New York Knicks to win now.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
the way he's doing everything, he's setting up the Knicks to win in like 5 to 10 years.
But the thing is, I think with Phil, it's like if and that's fine. If he's setting them up to, if his goal is to leave a good foundation for them to build on, then
Yeah.
that's fine. But why'd you resign Carmelo?
The simple let an asset walk. That
Yeah,
would be it.
I
Right?
guess.
Because think about it. You traded all these pieces, not Phil Jackson, but the previous GM trades all these pieces to get Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah,
Right? It was Donnie Walsh was forced into that trade. I remember he's like, we can sign him in the offseason. Why are we going to trade for him now?
yeah.
And then James Dolan overruled
Hmm.
that intelligent decision.
I mean,
Um,
yeah. The brain trust for basketball franchises in New York has not been the greatest.
no, it has not. Because I remember thinking exactly that. Donnie Walsh is like, we're not going to give up the farm for this dude. Because if you remember, Amari Stoudemire was balling out of control that year.
Yeah,
And the peripheral pieces of Danilo Gallinari, Wilson Chandler, Raymond Felton, and him were playing great basketball,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then they end up trading 3 of those people for Carmelo
You know,
Anthony.
and even with the Melo trade, I was fine with it.
I
But when I
wasn't.
thought, but I was
Okay.
fine until I saw they were including Raymond Felton. I was like,
And 2 great picks.
yeah. I mean, I just felt okay. Danilo makes sense. That's fine. Wilson Chandler, fine. But I felt, Felton was playing the best basketball of his career under
Yeah.
D'Antoni, and he
Yeah.
had a good chemistry with Stoudemire. I didn't think it was a good move.
No, it wasn't. I know they got Chauncey in that deal too,
But
and he
Chauncey
was
was
still
done.
pretty.
Yeah, he was done though at that point.
No, he wasn't. He was still serviceable. He was averaging like 14 or 15 points. The only problem is there was no one to relieve Chauncey Billups. There was no one to relieve Carmelo
Yeah,
Anthony.
it just
There was
didn't
no
make
one to
sense.
relieve Amari
I
Stoudemire.
would
It
have
didn't
rather
make any
kept
sense.
I would have rather kept Raymond Felton and told Denver, look, just keep Chauncey.
They had salary cap that summer. Carmelo Anthony was going to come to the Knicks, regardless.
That's what I'm saying.
All
I
they
mean,
had, it didn't make any sense. Like I remember
I mean,
Donnie Walsh saying, "There's no point. We can get this guy in the offseason. We're doing great now. We don't need him right now."
and what bothered me more too was like 5 days later, the Nets got Darren Williams,
Yeah,
who I thought at the time was like
great.
would have made more sense to trade for
Sure.
at the time. I mean, obviously
At the
now,
time, we
you know,
hindsight.
hindsight,
Yeah.
like it was a bad move. I wouldn't have traded for him in hindsight.
Who would have thought he was arguably the best point guard
Oh yeah, yeah,
next to Chris Paul at the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Um,
And I thought in D'Antoni's system he would have been great. Pick and roll,
most point guards would
jumpers,
be great in that system,
up
right?
tempo. But
What happened to this dude?
I think injuries just slowed him down. He had ankle
That's no.
issues. Ankle. I
Is it
think
just
also just
injuries though?
ankle issue. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination. Number one, injuries. Number two, I think he was in a great system in Utah.
He was. He was.
He's even said in the past that he likes to be in a system and a structured type of setting. He doesn't like just freestyle.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that? Because when he was in the system, he used to complain about the system all the time.
Yeah.
So I think for him, that was a little hindsight.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Making the picture clearer.
Yeah.
Because think about it, he got the great Jerry Sloan to quit.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? He got Jerry Sloan, the 20-year veteran, to put his arms up and say, maybe I'm done with this game. So I don't know, man, because think about it. Think about what Utah did in that situation. They were so upset that this guy got Jerry Sloan to quit that they traded him.
And I don't think that was a good move on maybe Utah's part, because it's again one of those, you get 4 quarters on the dollar for him.
Yep. But I think it was more of a statement to the fans.
Nets have made so many bad moves over the year. Number one, they drafted Derek Favors over Boogie, which I thought was bad. Then,
that was nonsense.
Then the whole KG Pierce trade was the most short-sighted, idiotic trade in NBA history. I mean, you gave up 2, 3, unprotected first-round picks and swaps.
I will play devil's advocate because
team wasn't ready to contend. They weren't ready to win a title. It made no sense.
Here's the biggest problem. So if you're looking at it on paper, because Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce said this last year when he was leaving. Remember, he was like, we were supposed to go there and be the complementary pieces for Darren Williams and Joe Johnson to take us to the promised land. But then he's like, it didn't end up being me and KG having to pull them to the playoffs.
No, but the Nets, brain trust should have realized this. When you have a team that the year before that trade, they lost in the first round to the Bulls.
Yeah.
With Darren Williams and Joe Johnson. They weren't ready to contend, right? This is like, go ahead.
Darren Williams has been in the league for 7 years at that point.
Yeah.
Joe Johnson has been in the league for 10, 11 years. If you're not ready to contend at that point, mentally, because it's all mental, it's not a talent thing with either of those guys, you'll never be able to contend. They're just not
No, but the thing is, you're not going to win a title with Joe Johnson and Darren Williams as your 2 best players.
It seems not. But if I had told you that,
if that's my core, I get it. I build around it, but I don't mortgage my future.
If I told you that in 2009, you could have Joe Johnson and Darren Williams on the same team and then trade for an older Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, would you have done it?
What am I trading for? What am I trading?
So say it's 2009, 2008. All right. The year is 2008.
Yeah, then they were in their prime.
But not. I'm saying let's make KG and Paul Pierce older. More specifically, I'm saying Joe Johnson in his prime and Darren Williams on what turned out.
Even then, I'm not sure. I mean,
really,
I don't. I think you got to be smart. I don't think I think teams that go all in and this with multiple draft picks, you can't be short-sighted. You have to always think in the long term. Look, the Rockets last year could have traded for Goran Dragic, and he might have walked, and they would have given up a ton of assets, but you have to think the long term. You can't think about what the
Goran Dragic trade is a little bit different because I think he has some anger towards the Rockets franchise.
Definitely, I think there's some bad blood there. Yeah.
Right, so that would have been a bad move in the sense that I could see him walking.
But I think giving up picks, I have to see where I am, right?
Would you have done the Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett to Boston trade? They gave up a lot of assets in that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Because I had Paul Pierce in his prime. Yeah. KG was in his prime. KG was coming off a 20 and 10 season.
That's
and
right.
Ray Allen was still averaging over 20 a game.
Look, it doesn't matter how old Ray Allen is. He could hit the greatest shot in the world.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that trade made sense at the time.
Yeah. But also it depends on the personnel because when that trade happens, Darren Williams was the better player. compared to almost everyone per maybe not Kevin Garnett,
Yeah.
right?
I still think it was a short giving up 3 first-round picks with the types of protection with that
You know,
uncertainty. I mean,
I'll,
they're giving up 2018 pick.
I'll say this. If I'm Billy King, because Billy King is the dumbass that made that trade,
Yeah.
I would have a vested interest in knowing what type of people Darren Williams and Joe Johnson are in the sense of
Mhm.
mentality.
Well, I don't know if
Because
this how much of a Billy King trade this was versus a Pokerov deal. Maybe Pokerov pushed him.
no, I don't think Prokhorov even gives a damn about the Nets.
Mm,
I think he just comes there for the cameras
yeah,
just to
maybe.
dance around a
I,
little. He doesn't seem like he's involved in the day to day. He was trying to win an
yeah,
election in Russia at the time, man.
maybe. One last thing on this though, like with the net, like that trade was bad for many reasons. Number one,
Yeah,
like they they put themselves back.
they
They're
did.
not contend. They're not going to contend this decade at all.
No, they're not. They're
And
done.
number two, I think it's hurt Brooklyn. I feel as a some because I drive by the Barclays Center all the time, and it's just like you look at it and you see a team with no future. I mean, like this is a team that moved to Brooklyn that's trying to build a fan base, and they
The
have
Hove took
they have nothing to sell to the fans.
what's it? Jay Z Hova exited that scene really quick.
Yeah, I
Sold the
mean,
share in the
you
in the
sold
company.
out. I
Got
mean,
the
you
hell
sold
out.
it
Yeah.
out and got out. I mean, they have nothing to sell their fans. I think that trade hurt them, obviously, like from a basketball perspective,
Did
but
you
from
like
a
what they did in the summer?
with what putting
Giving
grass
Brooke
on top.
Lopez, giving Brooke Lopez a big contract, giving Thaddeus Young a pretty good contract.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
I
didn't
would have
matter.
let them all walk. I would have just
For what?
sucked.
But what? Then what's going to happen?
Oh, they don't have picks.
You don't have your pick, so it's like it doesn't matter, right? Like
You know what I would
there's
try to?
no
I would
hope.
try to do is I would have tried. This is the time to asset collect. Okay, you don't have picks. It's time to go get somebody else's picks.
I guess. I mean,
They gave.
their
Think about
best
it,
shot.
They bought out Darren Williams for nothing.
Yeah, but there was no trade market for him though. No one wanted to trade for him.
Oh come on, man, that's hard. You gave up picks for Darren Williams. You gave up picks for Joe Johnson. You gave up picks for Paul Pierce
Okay,
and Kevin
if
Garnett.
you're a franchise, would you give up 2 first-round picks for Darren Williams? Would you give up a core
I didn't.
player and a first-round pick? What team in
No,
the
no.
what team in the NBA would do that?
I wouldn't give away any lottery pick for these guys. But maybe a 29th pick and for the trade pack exception and 29th pick for Darren Williams, I might do something like that.
But then are you going to pay? Then you're going to take on his $18-19 million salary.
If I'm Dallas, I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have done the way Dallas did it. If
Okay, but
I'm
if you're any other team, like I mean,
I'm trying to think of a team where Darren Williams could actually make a improvement for them. You know what's crazy? When you go through all these teams, they all have really great point guards.
exactly.
Because like think about the market for Rondo. There wasn't any except for some odd reason in Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean Sacramento's the only team, and I think Sacramento could have gotten Darren Williams, but for some
I
reason,
think that would have been an upgrade over Rondo.
yeah, definitely. Darren Williams is a skilled player.
Yeah.
Rondo's Rondo.
Rondo's the reason why Ray Allen went to Miami and won him a second championship, man.
Biggest shot in NBA history.
Oh God, I hate him for that. Rondo, not Ray Allen.
Oh yeah. No, I got love for Ray. So
All right, let me ask you one other thing then, because I'm a Raptor fan.
Sure.
What's your perspective on this team?
On the Raptors,
Yeah,
I mean, I think they've kind of reached their ceiling.
yeah, I can see that.
I think like with this current roster, I think they've reached their ceiling. I think they're. I think you put a Kate. I think they have a nice. They're one of those teams that were like they're kind of like 50-win team. They can get to the second round, and if you put like a super and that's it. But if you put like a superstar on them, like
then they can go to the next.
they can go to the next level. Like you put KD on them, boom, they're in the final. Like not in the finals, but they're close to it. So I mean,
they're at
I
least
think
in the Eastern Conference final.
yeah. So, and I think the key thing for Masai is like, do you stay the status quo with the Raptors and just sort of see where this roster can go,
Mm-hmm.
or
seems to be
and keep the fans
approach, by
happy?
the way.
Sorry, what?
Yeah,
And keep
I don't know if that makes the fans happy.
or do you blow it up completely blow it up and try to build a contender. I
Um,
mean, but the thing is, this year you have to keep it together because the All-Star game's in Toronto.
that's right.
So you want an All-Star, obviously, from the Raptors to be in the game.
Hmm.
You want to keep fans interested in the NBA.
Hmm.
But then after that, I would probably blow it up.
I think that's what's going to be. I think that's exactly what's going to happen, man. If unless there's a power move that none of us are seeing, and what I'm saying is like they're able to pull in one of these like top free agents, which I just don't see happening.
I mean, look, I love Toronto. I mean, it's a beautiful city. I mean, if I could live there, I wouldn't mind living there, but it
Yeah,
just doesn't work for me. With what I
yeah.
do. But I mean, it's a beautiful city. I don't see why NBA free agents wouldn't want to go there. But it's
I think
I
it's
see.
just more. I don't think it really has to do with the city. I think it has more to do with the franchise and them not really doing anything.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because and again, there's like you made a comment earlier saying there's no like marquee player like Kyle Lowry, good player. DeMar DeRozan, good player. But these are not guys you're like, oh, dude, I got Kyle Lowry and DeMar, I can win. It's not. They're
Yeah,
not at
exactly.
that level. You
You're
know
no offense. You're like the Hawks of like
exactly.
Joe
Joe
Johnson and
Johnson. We're the
Josh
Joe
Smith.
Johnson Hawks.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. That's exactly who we are.
Like the thing with what I've been waiting for with the Raptors is, since Masai's taken over, is when is the overhaul coming?
Well,
When
he's
are you,
got
when,
he's
when are you going
he's
to fire
got
Dwayne?
draft picks,
You've
right?
got drafted. When are you going to fire Dwayne Casey and
That's the biggest
trade,
anomaly in all of this is
trade
Dwayne
like
Quasey.
Demar? You know,
See, the DeMar thing is the guy makes $10 million. You know what I
and
mean?
yeah, I mean, and that's a good deal for what he does.
Yeah. Kyle Lowry makes $12 million.
That's a good deal for
That's a good deal.
all-star point guard.
And if you trade these guys, you'd want a borderline all-star. He doesn't have to be an all-star, like I'm saying like a Gordon Hayward type, but
Hmm.
then you're doubling the salary.
But then
By
to me, Gordon Hayward doesn't move the needle.
He doesn't move the needle, and you're paying him double,
Hmm.
right? So I don't know what move unless you can get picks back. But
Maybe
would
it's
you give up
what
a great pick for DeMar or Kyle Lowry? Would you give up a top 5? I wouldn't.
I'd give up a lottery pick probably for them.
Would you? What you would you'd do like a top 5 protected at that point? I
Yeah,
don't think.
I mean, like I'd give up, like I'd give up a first round pick, like number 7 and below, probably for Kyle Lowry.
Yeah. Yes, that's
Demar,
exactly.
I don't know, but for Kyle Lowry, for sure, I think he's a good he's a good point guard. And I think he's showed me enough in Toronto. And I've seen him in Houston too, but
Yeah.
that's the
See,
thing. But the thing is, like, when you have this type of roster, right, where you don't have a great player, you have like some good
good
players,
players. Yep.
Borderline all
Yep.
stars. I think then it's about the coaching, like
It is
how good's your
absolutely.
system, like
Um, but who would you replace him with?
Dwayne Casey.
Yeah.
Um, I think Luke Walton. He could bring new ideas and maybe
Do you
give a.
think he's a good coach? I don't know. That's like It's hard to judge any
I mean,
coach
it's not.
on the
He's
Golden
a
State
different.
Warriors.
He's a different type of coach.
What makes you say that?
He's more offensive oriented coach. Dwayne Casey. He's a good defensive coach, but I don't know offensively how creative he is.
There,
I think Luke
if you ever
Walton.
have you watched the Raptors at all?
Not really.
They're not.
Not recently. Not recently. They were my league pass teams.
They're not very creative. A lot of it is Kyle Lowry's dribble
Yeah,
penetration. A lot of it is ISO ball with
that's what I'm saying. Like I think you need a new. You have to kind of change the
voice.
voice, change the
Yeah.
philosophy a little bit. I would maybe
Yeah.
go Luke Walton, somebody I would consider. I would even the guy in Toronto in Philly, even though like he's been like Brett Brown, he's a Popovich disciple. I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm not judging Brett Brown off of what he did in Philadelphia.
Well, the Philadelphia team is pretty awful.
He's coaching a college team essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, he's set up to fail, so you can't judge Brett Brown, on what he's done in
I
Philly.
know we've talked about it before, but like a Brad Stevens is the one I would really want.
Yeah, someone like that, sure. I mean, Brad Stevens. Who was the guy last year in Denver?
Ah, I don't remember his name.
You know,
I
the
remember the
interim
one
coach.
before that,
Yeah, the
Mr.
interim coach
Brian Shaw.
after Brian Shaw. Yeah, I would go with. You know, just
Actually, who would be a good pick? Honestly, Tyronn
who?
Lue.
Tyronn Lue. Yeah, why not? You know,
I
he's a
would
bit
I
of
would
a
take a run at
triangle.
him.
Yeah, take a run at him. But I would just go someone that's, be a little more offensive oriented. Just kind of like, look, Dwayne Casey's done a good job, and I think the team would carry on those defensive concepts and principles. But I think
Yeah,
you need
I
somebody.
don't know. I would have agreed with you the year before if you told me that after we lost in 7 to Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I would have maybe agreed with you.
yeah,
Last year with Grievous Vasquez and Lou Williams on it,
yeah,
these guys just kind of gave up playing defense.
yeah.
So I don't know if those philosophies carry over. It seems like this team's
Mhm,
personality is,
mhm.
unless you tell us to do it, we're not doing it.
Yeah, but I would start there first. First off, I mean, if maybe you change a new voice could change the culture a little bit, and maybe guys would want to come play there a little bit more. But
I, I'll tell you this, Fayez, man, you are preaching to a large choir because people have been calling for his head since the Brooklyn series.
T dot,
If, yeah,
T dot,
the
Toronto,
whole city, the whole city
I
wants
got
his
you.
head gone.
I got you, Toronto. Yeah, I mean, look.
If you ever go to these forums
Mhm.
and you see like the stuff they say about Dwayne Casey, it's pretty funny.
No, I mean, that's what it is though with coaching. I mean, it's just like with teams and coaches. It's like certain coaches get you a certain point, and then
Yeah.
afterwards, like sometimes you need a change, you need a new voice. Sometimes, like I think he's gone as far as he can go. I mean, they should have won the. No offense, but they should have won that Brooklyn series 2 years ago.
Yep.
And I thought last year they should not have gotten swept. But
We
at the same
we
time,
we
they've.
dominated. This is why a lot of people have frustration with Dwayne Casey, right? We dominated this team in the season. Okay, the Washington Wizards. The only thing they did different in the playoffs is that they put Paul Pierce at the 4. Okay,
Hmm.
and then Paul Pierce just kind of killed Patrick Patterson and Amir Johnston.
Playoff Whitman, he makes good adjustments in the playoffs.
Okay, absolutely. But here's the thing that kills everybody else. Game 1, you see what he does. Like Randy Whitman went to Paul Pierce. Hey, you guys played them in the Brooklyn series. What turned the tide? They put me at the 4, coach, and I killed their bigs. He's like, okay, we're gonna put you at the 4 again. And he did the exact same thing in the Brooklyn series, again
Hmm.
in the Washington series.
Hmm.
And you're sitting there watching Dwayne Casey, and you're like, we got this guy named James Johnson on the bench who could play a 4 and rebound. Why don't you let this guy guard Paul Pierce instead of keep sending Patrick Patterson and Amir Johnson, guys who are not equipped to guard wings?
But the thing is, you wonder, but maybe, like, I don't know much about Dwayne Casey, but maybe some coaches are just foreign to small ball. Maybe they're just not. It's not their thing. It's not like something that they believe in.
I can't even agree with that because like he does things where he'll put Grievous Vasquez on John Wall and put Kyle Lowry at the 2 guard and put they had a lineup of Lou Williams, Grievous Vasquez, and Kyle Lowry with Patrick Patterson and JV. Does that make any sense to you? You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no.
It doesn't
I
make
mean,
sense. It's small and big in the worst areas.
I mean, like I said, I think you guys need a new voice. I mean,
And then to compound things, like you've already said, like offensively, they kind of struggle because there's no identity offensively, there's no system offensively. So in that series against Washington, the only guy who was really effective because Kyle Lowry was completely awful. He ended up averaging 13 in the series, but he scored like 30 in game 4, the one that didn't matter, and we got blown out by like 30. He scored 30 or 24 points, something like that. That boosted his average. Until then, he was averaging like 7.
yeah,
7 points a game. He was getting obliterated by Jonathan Wall, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
the only effective player we had was DeMar DeRozan, and you know what Washington did? Just ganged up on him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing with these coaches. Like, you need coaches that can make an adjustment. And
Yeah,
sometimes, like these coaches, they peel back one layer and in their, you know, schematics, and that's it. But
and
that's
like,
why, I think after this season, I think you got to go in a different direction.
see, you know what my fear is? My biggest fear is this season is since we got more wing defenders
Yeah.
and slightly better passers and shooters. Specifically, I'm talking about Damari Carroll.
Hmm.
I'm afraid we'll win just enough games to match up with a weaker team and win a series, and that could extend this guy's life, and I would not
But but
want
the-
that.
but then again, it also depends like how you finish, right? Yeah, you could win a playoff series, but then if you get swept by the Cavs or the Hawks, does it really mean anything?
It would, because then they'd be like, "Hey, he's one of the most successful coaches. He's already the most winning coach in Raptor history. He's If he wins a series, then he's taken them as far as any other team has gone in Toronto history." And they'd be like, "Oh, we can't fire him." And then I would honestly
But let me let
give
me
up.
let me ask you one thing, and we'll kind of maybe end on this with the Raptors. It's all right if Dwayne Casey does what you said, maybe wins a playoff series and stays on another year.
Oh God, yeah.
Um, at what point does Masai's seat start to get warm? I mean,
See,
would that turn?
here's the thing. Here's the thing. So the ownership of the Toronto Raptors is a conglomerate,
Hmm.
right? It's not owned by one guy. It's owned by a holding, right? MLSE. They
Hmm.
own the Leafs. They own the Toronto FC. They got shares with the Blue Jays as well.
Hmm.
Okay, actually no, they don't. But the other three big teams they have a share in. They don't really care that you win a championship or not. As long as the seats are being sold and they can put a premium on them and you're turning a profit, they're happy with you. And if you want a really good example of it, look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have been really awful for like probably the last 9 to 10 years. They had one good series that they ended up blowing. That stadium is sold out every night.
Hmm.
They are one of the, I think, if not the most profitable hockey team, the second most profitable hockey team. All right. The Raptors, even when they suck, still put in 17,000 people into that stadium. It's a max capacity of 19.8.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
So they,
but the thing is thing is, if they keep Dwayne Casey, and I mean Raptors, if fans stop going to the games,
they're not going to go. They're not going to stop. That's the whole point.
I
Even
mean,
when they, like, think
then
about it. If the Leafs have sucked that bad and they still support them, their revenue is fine. Right. Even when the Raptors are not as loved as the Leafs, they still put in 17,000 when we won like 19 games. We went from like being a top 10 attendance to being top 15 when we sucked.
hmm,
You understand? There's
yeah,
enough young people in Toronto and enough immigrants in Toronto who love the Raptors that'll still go to the game, still watch it on TV.
I mean, you're not giving me much here to work with. Then.
That's what I'm saying. There's no actual incentive for like
I
a
mean,
holding.
yeah.
So to them, it's like, oh, we're in the playoffs. We went to the second round. We don't usually do that, so we must be doing good. The only like we had Tim Lywicki, right, and
Uh-huh.
he was the former executive for the Los Angeles Kings, the hockey
Hmm.
team.
Hmm.
When he came, he was putting a lot of emphasis on the Raptors, pushing them into like the more of the mainstream eye.
Hmm.
He lost the power struggle within the within the within the organization, and then
Hmm.
essentially he kind of was forced to leave.
I see. Yeah, you're telling me about that.
Yeah. So the only guy who would have really cared is gone.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I really hope we lose in the first round again, so we can get rid of Dwayne Casey. That's my hope.
it'll be a start. It'll be a
Yeah.
start, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
definitely, I think we covered a wide range of topics. We went
Mm-hmm.
east, west, north, south, and um, thanks for coming on the podcast, Sean.
Hey, anytime. Let me know when you want to
Definitely,
do it again.
definitely. I think we're gonna try to do this, more often, maybe weekly.
Hmm.
And for any Twitter followers out there who are actually listening to this podcast, you can tweet us questions or topics you want to talk about, and we'll try to cover them.
Yeah,
So
it was a pleasure,
thanks,
man.
thanks, man. We're definitely gonna do this again, and it'll be up on our blog at boxsports.blogspot.com. Thank you.
Check it out.
Check it out.